What's up, guys? Been a long time since I've done one of these, so if I'm a little rusty, please forgive me. But on the fly is back again today. Wish it was on better circumstances, but it's not good. Um, you guys know how huge of a Kiss fan I am. I've been a Kiss fan since I was like 5 years old, which that's like just recently this week turned 52 years old. So 47 years now I've been a Kiss fan. And I remember as early I remember the day I was introduced to Kiss. My cousin, one of my older cousins, showed me the cover Destroyer, and it was just like, little kid superhero. And when you see something like, then hearing the intro to Detroit Rock City, and I was hooked. I've always said the look got me there, but the music has kept me around for 47 years. And one of the things especially over the past, I guess 4 or 5 years, especially, I've always said to people like other Kiss fans or people I've had on the podcast was, you know, when somebody passes away in the music world or one of our heroes passes away, how lucky we have been that none of the original four, nothing against any of the other members, that none of the original four have passed away. Well, that changed this week. One of the original members and the lead guitarist for Kiss, Ace Frehley, passed away Thursday, October 16th, from uh, a head injury he had from a couple of falls he had had a couple of weeks before. And people will say it. I know people will say it because when somebody's gone, it's so easy to say, "Hey, he was my favorite." But honest to God, Ace was my favorite out of the original four. Ace is my favorite Kiss member. Just drawn to that personality, to the makeup look. Something drew me to the space thing. I was into Star Wars. I was into science fiction stuff like that. So Ace was, I no pun intended, I gravitated towards Ace from the start. And who didn't want to play guitar like Ace? Who didn't want to be Ace Frehley? I mean, yeah, especially as a kid, I had the original Halloween costumes back in the day. Yeah, the ones with the rubber band and the staple, and it looked like a. I mean, they were awesome as a kid. And recently, I see they've got the action figures come back out to with those costumes on. I wore Aces for 4 straight years till I was not able to wear it anymore because it was so tore up. My mom wouldn't let me go out. I can understand. I had no problem with it, but my mom was like, "No, I can't let you go out like this." People start asking me, "What the heck am I doing to you?" But yeah, that Ace was always the one. I've got my Ace stuff. I've got the mini mates. I've got the Ace stuff over here with my Kiss stuff. Can't bring out all of that, but yeah, to hear rumors started going around Thursday afternoon when I was at work, and my brother works with me. He's a Kiss fan. He's been a Kiss fan for a long time too. And I looked at him. I was like, "Oh, this doesn't sound good." And I was telling him it was Ace, and he was like, "Oh gosh." So apparently, Ace had failed a couple weeks before. The first time he failed wasn't bad. He had to postpone some dates over a weekend. People were in contact with it. Guys, if you have not listened to Eddie Trunk's podcast that he did, the tribute podcast he did for Ace, go back and listen to it. Eddie Trunk was a close friend of Ace's, signed him to his first record deal after Kiss. a lot of good Ace stories in there. You know, Ace was a character, but you started hearing that, you're thinking, okay, come on, he's going to pull out of this. But the second fall evidently was what got him. He fell again. I don't know how many, if it was a day later, how much time was between the two falls, but that was what did him in. And he had a brain bleed. He was on life support. I think the family kept it under wraps till it was getting in really a dire situation, and he couldn't. They knew the end was near. Put it that way. That's when they started. Am I? I didn't ask for Disney. So that wasn't okay. Let me get this back on Kiss right quick, dude. I wanted that back up there. Yeah, sometime that afternoon he was gone. He passed away. Like I said, as a kid, Ace was the Kiss guy for me, and he always had been. You know, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have Apple Music, you didn't have social media to keep up with things. So the only thing you really had to keep up with things was sometimes, and the older I got, the more I realized that Hit Parader, Circus, Metal Edge, and Metal Edge, I didn't see that till a little bit later in my teenage years. But looking on the cover of some of these magazines in the early, even when I guess I didn't ever think with Creatures that because Ace was on the cover, I didn't think Ace had left. Um, so when Lick It Up came out, the cover comes out, and I haven't looked at a magazine. I'm looking at it. I was like, "Is that Ace?" I said, "I guess so." But then you hear later on that it's Ace has left the group, and then I remember looking in a Circus magazine and seeing a guitar ad and seeing Ace without makeup. And then there was talk about an album, Frehley's Comet, coming soon. And I was so psyched for it. And I bought the cassette. At that time, I was cutting grass in the summertime, so I had some money I would spend on stuff like that. Yeah, so I got the Frehley's Comet cassette. I bought all the stuff that he had as a solo artist. Um, but then, you know, you start to understand more as you grow older about the rift between, the four original members, and then you see little glimpses of hope. You hear little things here and there in magazines, or see them in magazines, and you're like, well, maybe they'll get back together. The reunion tour. I remember I was on the phone with a girl the night they came out at the Grammy. I mean, I knew all about the unplugged thing had already happened, but the night they came out at the Grammys and makeup together, I was on the phone with a girl and I just said, stopped, and I went, holy shit. She was like, what? I said, I gotta go. And hung up the phone. Needless to say, I didn't go out with that girl. But anyway, my love for Kiss and for Ace has been, constant over the last 47 years. And here, this was like losing a member of the family. It was just a shock. And I know some people in the know, and I mean, that was the family's decision to keep it quiet. And I understand that till the very end. But I just hate it. I mean, and I was talking to some other Kiss fans, and it's really, when you think about it, you didn't think Ace would be the first one to go. Gene had that wreck last week, and that kind of opened my eyes. I was like, oh gosh, here we go. Is this where this is going to start? I mean, which it wasn't. he wasn't even hurt in that wreck. So I mean, but you kind of get that thought in your head again, man, what if this happens? And you want to see, and I've said time and time again to talking about the rip between the four original guys. You're not getting any younger. You need to, and this was for all four of them. You need to throw down your ego, throw down that pride, and get things straight with the other three for each one of them. And because when they're gone, it's going to be too late. And now it's too late. I don't think there's, I know Peter, from what I saw in the statement Peter made, Peter was there with him when he passed. When he passed, Peter was at his bedside. I know Gene made a pretty nice statement. Paul's statement was, I'm not going to get into that right now, but it's too late once they're gone. That's just like the Kennedy Center Honors coming up in December. That would have been such a big chance for these four guys to mend fences, to get things straight between the four. Now we don't have that. It probably would have been the last time we saw all four original members together. Now, I guess the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was the last time we'll see all four original members together. But it's sad, guys. It's just I ran, and this is a little bit off subject, but I ran my first 5K race yesterday. I've been running a lot. I run a lot, but my playlist was going to be Ace stuff, and it was. And I had it as soon as they got ready to start. I started it right before they told us to go, and when we went, my adrenaline was pumping from the Ace music, from just the nervousness of running that first race. And I got so far off my pace, I was like, oh, you got to slow down. You got to slow down or you're going to pay for this at the end. And I did pay for it at the end a little bit, but I finished the race great. Did a good job for my first one. But Ace was there with me. He was guiding me through the whole thing. And that was fitting for me. I do want to – this isn't going to be a long show. I just wanted to come on here and get my thoughts out. One memory I have with Ace, because as a kid, the Kiss toys, Christmas and birthdays, it was going to be one of three things, or Christmas, probably all three things. It was going to be Pittsburgh Steelers stuff. You see my Steelers stuff over my shoulder here. It was going to be Star Wars, and it was going to be Kiss. And as a kid, I remember getting the white plastic toy guitar and getting on the stereo, putting the Live 1 or Live 2 record on, and just playing like air guitar, acting like I was Ace Frehley. So one day I got a bright idea that I would play it, and I put a smoke bomb in that plastic guitar. Needless to say, you know what happens when heat and plastic get together. The plastic doesn't win. That toy guitar ended up in a white blob of melted plastic. I could kick myself every day for that. I wish I still had that thing. But yeah, just wanting to be like him. I mean, I know Ace had his problems. He stated that for facts over the years, but gosh knows. I never got the chance to meet the guy. I would love to. I've talked to many people that have met him, talk about, you hear things from meet and greets, that some good, some bad. I guess it just depends on the day that you saw him, but a lot of positives there. He was a joker. I mean, look at the Tom Snyder interview, guys. That is one of the iconic interviews, if not the iconic Kiss interview you'll ever see. Ace in rare form. Ace took over that. And Gene and Paul, especially Gene. Gene was ticked off. But that was Ace. I mean, you saw him over the years. He was always cracking jokes. If you look at there was the outtakes or the entire Unplugged program that you can find. I think you can find on YouTube. He tells some jokes up there that are kind of risque jokes, but that's Ace. And he's going to be so missed. I mean, so missed. I mean, I always think about, just like Phantom of the Park. Yeah, that is a terrible, terrible movie. But to me, it's great. It's so great because as a kid, I wasn't going to miss that. We had the big event at our school. It was like a fall festival, and that was the same Saturday or whatever night. I think it was a Saturday night that Kiss Meets the Phantom came on. I made my mom take me home early so I wouldn't miss Kiss Meets the Phantom. And I sat there because those days you couldn't, it wasn't like you could DVR it. You couldn't record it. No VCR for us, no DVR was around. So if you miss it, you didn't see it. And I've told this story before. It just worked out. The 1985, I believe, Christmas, we got a VCR, the first VCR we ever had. One blank tape. One blank tape. So you had 6 hours on a blank tape. And that night, Christmas night, I'm sitting there, and of course I'm like 12 years old. Going through all my stuff. I'm up late. Everybody's gone to bed but me. It's like 11, quarter after 11. The news is on. This was a Friday night. The news was on. And at 11:15, CBS at the time, they didn't have, I think NBC was the only one with late night talk shows at the time. I think. I'm not sure, but I know 11:30 CBS didn't have a talk show at that time. So Friday nights, CBS had like a movie of the week. So quarter after 11, the commercial comes on, and it says tonight, Friday night movie of the week, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, and I'm like, where is the tape? Recorded that, wore that one tape out. And, that was 2 hours that nobody was going to tape over. I said, y'all going to have to buy another blank tape because nobody is touching this one. We're not going to have anybody tape over this. But Kiss Meets the Phantom was so good. It was so bad. It was so good. It was good. They're not good actors, but yeah, A had some iconic lines. I think the act lines in there. Easy Cat, man. And they've got guns, stuff like that. Beethoven's Fifth. There will never be another Ace Frehley, and you can. And no offense to Tommy Thayer or anything, putting the spaceman makeup on him doesn't change anything. It doesn't make him Ace Frehley. Nor do I think Tommy wanted it to make him Ace Frehley. But I just want to share my thoughts and some of my memories on Ace and just tell him, anybody out there, what an effect he had on my life. And wish I could play guitar like him. That ain't happening. But yeah, just want to get out there and share my condolences to his family, to his friends, and everybody out there, all the Kiss Army out there that are grieving right now, because it's a bad time. I mean, people say, well, you didn't even know the guy. No, I didn't know him, but gosh knows I was a huge fan. 47 years. It's going to affect me. It's just like when Ozzy passed, and we're losing some, and we're losing some of our childhood all the time. And it's going to, for people my age especially, it's going to get worse. We're going to see it in the next few years. It's going to get worse. People are going to, our childhood, people that affected our childhood are going to be leaving here. So you better enjoy it while you can. But anyway, I just want to share my thoughts. And like I said, rest in peace, Spaceman. We're going to miss you, dude. We'll see you next time on The Fly.